one.
Let's go.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. That's wicked.
Awesome.
We're now live.
We're now live. Go.
Hello, Avacal, and welcome to our leadership address. We want to thank everybody for coming and attending today. We know that there is a lot that's probably going on in your lives, and so we want to thank you for taking the time to sit with us and our heirs in order to go through and talk a little bit about what's going on in our kingdom. So what's going to be happening during this address is that His Majesty and I are going to be speaking and addressing some questions. We're also going to invite our heirs, their highnesses Vic and Aisha, in order to speak as well, and we will put them live on their video feed so that they can speak. And if they have any questions that come up from the overall populace, we'll make sure that we also put them on the video feed so they can respond to you as well. On your screen, you will also have the option to be able to use a chat function through a live Q&A. We ask that if you did not send us questions electronically, that we can respond to it as well, and we will take time to respond to those questions in addition to the ones that have been sent to us as well. With that, I'll pass it over to His Majesty to give our leadership address.
Oh, it's up to me to give the leadership address. Fantastic. Let me get my speaking notes. I get speaking notes, Avacal. I never get speaking notes when we do this in court, so it's rife with ums and ahs. But now it'll be rife with ums and ahs and awkward pauses, so lucky you guys. So we would like to thank everyone for attending, as we said. We hope that you guys are safe and healthy and happy. It's our hope that you have been able to safeguard your physical health as well as your mental health. These are difficult times for everybody. So we know that it can be a real challenge. People's mundane lives have been turned upside down. There's been lots of job loss. There's been lots of chaos at home, kids at home, that kind of thing. It's difficult for everyone. We're hoping that this gives a little bit of a respite for that kind of thing. And yeah, we hope that we can sort of continue on in the SCA a little bit in this way. We don't know when things are going to open up again. I mean, no one has a crystal ball. But we remain hopeful that it is going to be soon. As we have stated before in the past, we hope that we'll be able to gather again, but we don't know when that's going to be. We've stated that all of our events are going to be on hold for the short term at least, and now we think that is going to be likely until Quad War. We're hoping that Quad War is going to be our first event all back. We don't know how this is going to all shake down, but we need some sort of a plan. In order for us to have a plan, we talked to the BOD. We applied for and received a waiver to have our coronation forestalled until Quad War, so that we don't do something ridiculous like an online coronation or an in-person coronation in a parking lot somewhere. We would like to give Vic and Aisha a proper coronation, but we're hoping that's going to be a Quad War. So that assumes that restrictions are relaxed by that time, and we don't know if that is going to be the case. If that turns out not to be the case, we'll apply for another waiver and we'll push this back to September Crown, possibly. And if restrictions aren't relaxed by then, we will look at pushing the waiver back to November coronation and just starting fresh in November. Again, these situations are fluid and volatile, and we don't know how things are going to go. So at every stage of the way, we're going to be weighing our options. We're going to see what we can do. We're in close contact with Vic and Aisha. We're in close contact with the members of the board of directors, with our seneschals, or the seneschal. More on that later. And yeah, we're doing our best. No one's got a crystal ball. We'll figure this out. So what does remain certain is that until we are able to come together as an entire kingdom, no kingdom events will happen. So that means that if Alberta were to relax restrictions but Saskatchewan not, or if Alberta and Saskatchewan relax restrictions but BC does not, we will not have a kingdom event until we can all come together and celebrate in fellowship in what is sure to be an incredible event once we all finally get back to normal. That's going to be an event to remember. I can't wait for it. We don't want to exclude anybody in what's going to be an excellent celebration. So one thing we'd like to mention is that if social restrictions are relaxed in specific areas, let's say that Saskatchewan relaxes their social distancing, but Alberta does not, then the groups in Saskatchewan can have smaller personal events, practices, artistry nights, meetings, that kind of thing for sure. But it is incumbent upon the local leadership of each individual group to first assess if this is possible and if you can do it in a safe way, and then to make sure that it is done in a safe way. Now, whether that is, let's say meetings can be 50 people or less. Maybe it's a pre-registration process. Maybe it's a guy at the door with a counter. Who knows? It's difficult to see what this might look like in the future, but we don't. If your area is allowed to meet, we have no desire to restrict the socialization that we've already all sorely done without. So it's not a kingdom rule that we cannot meet. All we are doing is following all of our local health authority rules. As a kingdom, we will follow the most restrictive local health authority rule in our borders. Again, we are not going to meet until we can all get together. So, having said that, we are in a holding pattern until all of that happens. We encourage you to attend the many virtual classes and events and get-togethers and meetups that are sort of throughout the known world, also within Avacal. Social connections are important. They're an important stress reliever. I know that I have had more than my fair share of stress over the last 2 months. I'm sure everyone else has as well. So continue to meet online if you can. Continue to support each other like you already have been. For the bards who are doing their thing, we thank you. For the artisans that are showing off their great works, we thank you. For people who are just maintaining social connections, we thank you. It's very important to keep that stuff up. If you have the ability to host, say, a class or share some of your knowledge, or if you want to perform online or anything like that, and you don't have the means, reach out to Avacal on Facebook, reach out to, we have innumerable technical experts that I'm sure will be happy to help share their knowledge. It is a thing that I think is very important. If people have the ability, great. If you don't have the ability, then don't. The SCA will be here when you return. So that is sort of the prepared bit of speaking we had to do tonight. We can move on to some happier news. The kingdom, despite not being able to meet, still continues with business. Actually, we should talk about, we should maybe ask our heirs if they would like to speak at all. We're going to send you guys live a video feed. If you guys want to jump in and say hi to the populace, they can see your smiling faces. Sure. Press that send. All right. Okay, here we go, guys. We'll be live shortly. There you are.
You're live now.
Great. Awesome. We just wanted to jump in really quickly and add some words of weight to what their Majesties have said. We've had a few questions asked of us privately, so just to answer them publicly, we're here 100% to support our king and queen and support our kingdom. So no one's holding a gun to our head. There's no pressure. We've all arrived, king, queen, crown prince, crown princess, at these decisions together. It's been a really interesting experience for us, but we wanted the entire kingdom to know that we're here for our crown and we support our king and queen, and we are doing everything we can to help them through this time. And when the time is right, we will step up and receive our accolades. So that's it, I think, from us, unless you have anything.
No, that's about it.
So thank you.
All right, we'll jump back in here for a sec. We were making faces at our heirs the entire time, so if they were looking a little flustered, that was on us. Technology is so much fun. We have all the power right here in front of us. It's been fantastic. Okay, so thanks, Vic and Aisha. We appreciate all of the support you've given us, and we would, in fact, echo the same statement. We are here to make sure that our heirs have the best possible reign they can have. So we have, if they decided the best possible reign for them was to take over on June 1st, we would meet them in a Burger King parking lot and hand them the crowns. I don't think anyone wants that kind of reign. So we are sitting here in a parking or in our houses, huddled, safe, and once we can all gather and have a proper corner, we will definitely.
So the next piece that we wanted to mention and to share with you is that we've had some conversations with our heirs, with the Kingdom Seneschal as well. And although we are going to hold off for a formal elevation, we'd like to share that Aries Guard will be elevated to Shire status when they are able to host their own event. So that will likely be during the time that our heirs step up as King and Queen, and so I know that they are excited for that opportunity.
It's been a long time coming. Aries Guard's been knocking out of the park, doing everything that Shire should. We couldn't be more proud of our newest to-be Shire, and we very much look forward to attending the event where they are elevated. There's sure to be an amazing time.
The next thing that we wanted to mention was just a couple of changes of office at the Kingdom Core level. We have Kingdom Seneschal switchover, which is on May 15th. Duke Albrecht is going to be the new Kingdom Seneschal, and we want to thank him and welcome him to, especially because he's going to be stepping up during a really difficult time. And there's lots of new things to kind of review and because of the COVID crisis. So thank you very much for Duke Albrecht for being willing to do that. And with that, we want to take time to thank Master McLaren, who has stepped up and performed in the temporary duty for the last number of months. Thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your expertise and your patience as we've gone through a number of challenging events in the last while. So thank you so much. We very much appreciate you and adore you. Thank you. Next, we want to welcome a new Kingdom Chatelaine, who is Hawk. We want to thank him for stepping up at this time. So congratulations to you. And so if anyone has any Kingdom Chatelaine business, you can send it his way.
It would be an interesting time to step up as Kingdom Chatelaine when we don't have a whole lot of visibility in the public eye right now. So, Richard, if you have ideas on how to virtually be a Chatelaine, we are all ears.
The next thing that we wanted to kind of mention is some recommendations during this time. So we have been receiving via Facebook Messenger, via Crown email, as well as conversations with populace members, individuals who are really inspiring and during this time are performing either bardic events or teaching classes or are offering services for support or help. We really want to thank everyone for doing that, and specifically if you believe that someone is reaching out to do that, then let us know. It's something nice that you can let us know and we can send them a thank you.
So one other thing that we wanted to talk about a little bit was the idea of inclusion. When we stepped up, we mentioned that inclusion was going to be a big part of the theme of our reign. We wanted to make sure that there wasn't a single person who felt excluded for their belief system or any other reason. So along those lines, we're going to change our award recommendation form to include a preferred pronoun field, so that if the recipient has a preferred pronoun that they would rather be referred to by, you can include that if you know it. It's not a required field, but it's just a little thing to let the gender non-specific feel a little more included, rather than have us as royalty stumble through a mistake that we didn't know that we were making. So if we know how to address our populace, that is the best thing. So that's a small little thing that we can do. Her Majesty has been taking very seriously the inclusion piece and doing as much research as she could. She's amazing in that way, and this is just a small part of what we're trying to do to make sure that everyone feels welcome.
Thank you. We've recently been in contact with the Society Diversity Inclusion Officer. I have a meeting with her next week to continue the discussion. I attended a class that she hosted last weekend, and there's a couple of other things that are going to be on the go as well. We just need a little bit more time to kind of work those out. But as we add more items, we will let the populace know about what's happening. The last piece that we have before we get to the Q&A portion is we just wanted to remind folks that there are 2 confidence pollings that are coming up for 2 baronies. And we wanted to thank both Jean and Guillain, as well as Roxanne and Rule, who are our current Baron and Baroness of Borealis and Morganwood, respectively. And they have a confidence polling that's coming up in the next couple of months. So we refer you, those members who are part of those baronies, to please see your local website, baronial website, for the specific dates. It'll be happening online, which will be sent to us so that we can review that confidentially. So thank you very much for that. With that, I think we've got a number of questions that have been coming in, which is great, as well as some things we'd like to add. Your Highnesses, did you want to say anything before we kick off to the Q&A portion? They shake their heads in a resounding no.
No, we're good, thanks.
All right.
Okay, can you handle this one?
Sure. Our first question that was sent to us from Robert Van Gunn was, would it be better to forget the idea of a summer coronation and instead crown the Prince and Princess in November? That may allow a couple of fall events for the current crown, let the heirs ease into the role, and allay fears that we are returning too soon. So again, we don't have a crystal ball. If it is the case that we are able to safely meet, we will do so. We will also assess our options at that time because we simply don't know. We just don't know how this is going to happen. We'd like to aim for Quad War because we need to set some kind of a date. We're not able to ask the bod to allow us to be King and Queen indefinitely. We have to put dates on these things, and we want to make sure that that Vic and Aisha have a proper reign, or as proper as they can. So it's a fluid situation, and we're making these calls as we go. So have we decided to just completely stop SCA for the summer? That's not a decision we're prepared to make at this time. If the virus is such that we can safely meet in August, we will. As to when the call to make that to be a yes or no if Quad War is going to happen, we haven't quite nailed down when that will be, but it will be well in advance. Because again, this is going to be our 25th Quad War. We want to make sure we do it right. So these things they weigh heavily on our minds. We are still deciding on how that's going to go.
And please note that we are not making these decisions in isolation. We are talking with the Seneschal team. We are talking with our heirs. We are making sure that that any decisions that we make are all inclusive to ensure that the safety of the populace and also, the sustainment of the SCA. We also have a chat with the Baron and Baronesses as well set up with our heirs so that we can all be included and have conversations if anything does come up and we want to kind of run some ideas past everyone. Then question number 2 comes from Renee Barker. She asks, how are you doing? How are you feeling? If the answer is negative for either of those, is there anything the populace can do? So thank you very much for that. We're doing okay. We are being able to manage between working and managing kids and trying to do our best at also doing the best that we can in a virtual office as we are in right now. We're more tired than normal. That would be probably pretty accurate. But I think we're doing good. Participation for events like this, as well as I attended the Italian Salon earlier today, and I really enjoyed that. And so being able to do things that I remember and I love is great.
Your Highnesses, I'm going to throw it to you now. I'm making you go live as we speak. I would like to hear how you guys are doing. I'm sure everybody else wants to know as well. How are things in your world?
We're doing good.
Yeah, things are going. I mean, things are going fine. I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking classes online. I'm meeting with populace in Discord when I can. We're just doing day by day as well.
I'm doing nothing, which has always been a dream of mine. So we're good. Yeah.
I'm doing everything. He's doing nothing.
This is true. I'd imagine that will continue for the duration of the reign.
Fantastic.
Yeah, let's work it out.
All right.
You got the next one?
Our next question is a long one. This question comes from Arwen, and it is mostly class related. So I'll start reading them. She says, I've been noticing that several kingdoms are doing online events. I'm not completely in favor of regular events to be converted to an online event just so we have them. However, I feel that there are some tour-style events that could work quite well in this format. Several symposium-style events on the weekend seem to be getting lots of traction. We do have some questions to be figured out. She asks if we have a calendar process. We have a calendar process that sets weekends and events based on very structured process. How can we facilitate this so the kingdom still has happenings online, but put into a calendar? Or do we need a calendar to set for these? So our initial thoughts on this, and Your Highnesses, feel free to jump in if you have other thoughts as well, is really, so far, obviously, social media has been a sort of a default action for this. We've made heavy use of the Avacal Facebook groups. Online and social media is obviously key for this whole kind of thing. But if we decide that we want to do something a little more formal, then we will certainly, and maybe we want to do something formal in a time that doesn't allow us to publish it in a calendar and that kind of thing. We can be agile about this. We can be a little bit more fluid than what we normally would with a structured in-person event. So if people are keen to do this kind of thing, by all means, let us know. If it's I want to put on a fighting symposium, then let the fighting community know. We'll do our best to get the word out as best we can. We'll do our best to support you in every way that we can, whether it's providing technical support or having our web minister provide you technical support or that kind of thing. Certainly, it's a thing that we would like to see happen. So her next question is, online events may or may not have costs. Some people have a higher Zoom setup. Some people have Google Hangouts. How should this be handled? This is going to likely be a mishmash of technology, depending on what the presenter is capable or comfortable with. If the presenter has a Class A Zoom account, then that's likely going to be a Zoom thing. If the presenter has nothing and needs a way to present in this format, and this may not be a thing that's particularly known throughout the kingdom, but the kingdom has access to Office 365, which comes along with a Teams subscription like we are addressing now. This is one kind of Teams style event. This is a live event, sort of a one-way or one way and then some questions that come back the other way. There's also meeting style things. So the Microsoft Teams for Avacal is a thing that we already have. We have access to it because of our nonprofit status. We have excellent licensing available to us. So that is a thing that we have. But Zoom also offers free licensing. There's many other, innumerable other meeting platforms out there, Google Hangouts and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So it is going to be a mishmash, and that's just how that's going to go. We don't have there's no one size fits all aspect of this at all, and there never will be. One day Teams will be working great, the other day Zoom will be working great, and Teams will be down. Who knows? It's a weird and strange world we're living in these days. So which style events do we want to support online? Specifically, Arwen would like to suggest a style event only. This should only be the ones that would be our traditional event days, aka on the weekends. Other classes, happenings, hangouts can continue as normal during the week and should be encouraged, in her humble opinion. We don't like online courts. It was a thing that I had briefly explored early in the virus disruption, and Her Majesty brought me back down to earth and said nobody wants to get an award online virtually. It's not the best experience, we suspect. There simply is no, oh dear. I had an inappropriate question come through that no one's going to see from our soon-to-be seneschal. We don't like online courses, so we're not going to do them. We think two-style events and classes are an excellent idea. So if that is a thing, and there has been some interest in starting a two-style event in Avacal, and we are certainly exploring that option. And we are going to go, and we're talking to our tour people, we're talking to our arts and science people, and we're doing our best to see if we can get that to happen. Where are we now? Should we be encouraging baronies and groups to hold online meetings in taverns? If so, how can the kingdom support this? Zoom setup, etc. Again, we have access to Teams. We have Zoom has free offerings. For direct kingdom support, I don't know that we would financially help people out to get a higher Zoom setup when we have things like Teams available to us already, but that's something that we would have to explore on a case-by-case basis. So that's everyone's questions. You want to get the next one?
Sure.
You're chatting away with people.
Sorry, I'm answering questions online.
Sure you are.
Is this where you want me to go?
I want you to take off the next question right here.
Okay. Joanna Catherine sends this following question. How has the cancellation of many events affected the finances? So we talked to our Kingdom Exchequer, Elsif, Mr. Elsif, about this because we wanted her formal statement on this piece. And the following things that she stated, that likely it may affect more local groups than a kingdom level event, although of course we're not having kingdom level events, so kingdom funds aren't coming in. But we do have a healthy bank account as a kingdom sitting at 67,000 right now. If smaller groups may be more affected individual groups may be more affected as they are reserving space potentially for meetings or potentially for things like fight practice space or whatever that is. And so they may have some incurring costs that they are focusing on. If any groups are in a financial need due to the commitments that they have made and they are concerned about their financial well-being, please reach out to us, the Seneschal, and we will chat with our financial committee, including our heirs, to ensure that they know that we can make some decisions.
You can always get us at crown@avacal.org, and you can get the Seneschal at seneschal@avacal.org. An email CC to both of us is the fastest way to ensure a response.
That's great. There are emergency funds that Mr. Southseth did state that are put aside just in case there is an emergency, so we can pull on those if a group does need it. One of the things that we did want to say in combination with the conversation with our heirs is to ensure that there is no money that's being put aside at this time for future events to reserve halls. Just because we do not know the length of time that this is going to go, we want to make sure that that groups aren't going to be losing funds as a result of that. So if you are looking at an event that's coming up and you are concerned that if you don't reserve a hall, you may lose it, before putting those funds down, please send a note to us and the Seneschal in order to have that conversation so that we can support you in that decision.
Her next question is, how will the lack of events affect the finances? We don't think it will affect the finances at all. Avacal has a very healthy bank account. We are doing quite well. We've to the tune of about $67,000, I believe, in the bank account right now. We do not have a lot of ongoing expenses. A few expenses related to the College of Heralds, and a few expenses related to things like
non-member surcharge,
surcharge, background checks, that kind of thing. But we don't have a whole lot of ongoing draining expenses. Most of our expenses are sort of travel related and event related, and neither one of those things are really happening right now. So Avacal as a financial entity is doing just fine and can exist quite happily for some time in the current situation. Please don't be worried about that at all.
The next question is, what will happen if events in Alberta opens but Saskatchewan stay closed, or vice versa? We did talk a little bit about that. Local events can, and we talk about events being not a formal event, like an all-day event, but more from a meeting style and or fight practice and or arts and science night. Those things potentially could happen if your local health authorities state that you're able to get together in a way that is safe. So because we are over 3 provinces, we want to make sure that each group is following whatever is a recommendation from their health authority and making sure that they are paying attention to the numbers. And we really want to make sure that groups are not overreaching and potentially excluding individuals that want to come, but there might be too many. So if I think of, let's say, a barony event of Morgan Wood of that size, I know that some of their taverns could get upward to 50 or 60 people. Potentially, if there's a maximum of 50 people and you go over that, that's something that we would request the Baron and Baroness to really think about, because that could really impact how you manage that situation, and potentially there could be penalties, financial penalties that would be expected to be paid depending upon the province you live in.
Certainly. We have a question here, same question, same asker, Donna Catherine asks, what if the heirs cannot, worst case, step up? It could be a year from now until they can. Yeah. We're going to throw that question to you guys. Send July.
Were you listening?
Yeah. Yeah. So we got this. It's not going to be a problem. We're good. We've got it all sorted out. If something miraculous, well, I'll echo His Majesty's words. We don't have a crystal ball. So if something were to happen over the course of a long period of time where we could not step up, then there's a default, in our laws for that, and we would just follow our kingdom laws for what happens when the heirs can't assume the crown. But we would like everyone to know that we've been planning this moment for probably 10, 12 years. So we're good. We're patient people, Aisha especially. So yeah, we're not worried about it at all. But
we'll step up when it's time for us to step up.
We understand the question, and we just want to reassure everyone we're good. So thanks.
Excellent. Our next question. Thanks, guys. Our next question is, what if the current king and queen cannot remain until their step down? More from the fact that they expected their reigns to be from a specific date, and life changes. If the current king and queen cannot finish the reign, will they still become a duke and duchess? As the extension is not their fault. We are not concerned about accolades at the end of this. All we really want to do is make sure that Avacal gets through this in the best possible way that we can. We want to make sure that our heirs get the best possible reign that they can. We will worry about what this might look like in the end. It's very unlikely that we will just pull up stakes and leave. If we need to, if we have a set of heirs, so if we needed for whatever reason to end our reign, there's always the option of the Burger King parking lot crown changeover. Nobody wants that, but that is an option. Other kingdoms have elected to do that kind of thing. So that's an option to us. So but we're not concerned. We will get through this, and we'll figure this out as best we can, and we'll move on. We're going to get through this, Avacal, we promise.
Next question from Roxanne and Raoul. What happens if Quad War is cancelled and we can't do coronation then? Like we mentioned, if Quad doesn't take place because the reasons that we had mentioned, because the health authorities across all 3 provinces don't suggest that we all get together, then we will then move it to Crown. And if Crown can't take place, then we will move it to then November coronation. We're just going to be looking at options all the way and staying as agile as we can in the process. As well, we can't always make those decisions on our own, because there is corpora that we have to follow. So we can make recommendations based on what we think is best in our kingdom and what follows our health authorities. And then we send that off to the BOD, and we connect we partner with our seneschal, and we send that off to the BOD. And there's conversations that happen, and those are waivers to corpora. So There has been a few questions that have come in, or people that have mentioned, you know, why don't we just hold off? Sometimes it's our decision and we can do some things, but a lot of it is ensuring that we're following whatever rules are being put in place through Popora, as well as whatever ongoing decisions that are being made by the BOD. We are in contact with them. We've had a few conversations with them, and we thank Master McLaren for leading those conversations over the last number of months. We do have a waiver to now until August 30th. So if we need to hold off until Crown in order to do the transfer over, we have to make a decision. Is that right for Avacal? Is that right for our heirs? And is that the best time to do that? So yeah, we will let you know once as things continue to progress.
I should also mention that we talk about following Popora and following the rules of the society. The BOD has been very agile and flexible in allowing kingdoms to do what they need to do. So it is not a case where they are rigidly saying, oh, this is Popora, you have to follow these rules. That's not exactly happening. Everybody is in deep and heavy conversations about all of this kind of stuff. So the society is working well together in order to make sure that we all get through this in the best way that we can for each individual kingdom and their culture. Melon Roxanne's next question: are there thoughts or plans around how eventing can happen if limits on attendances last a long time? Recognizing there won't be answers now, what possibilities are being considered? You want to take this one?
Sure.
Go.
So one of the things that we have had is a handful of people that have come forward to request a TUA to take place, an online virtual TUA, and we think that that's a fantastic idea. I know that Her Highness Aisha has been also attending classes, as well as myself, online across the known world in a variety of kingdoms, and it's been really exciting. I attended the Known World Italian Symposium, the Italian Salon today. I took classes last night as well as this morning, and really enjoyed it. Very high quality presenters and lots of great conversation as well, so that was fun. So as a result of that, and the requests that have come forward, you will have seen on the Facebook Avacal site that Mistress Una, who is our Chancellor of the University of Avacal, who has put forward a request and a question: are people interested in having an online TUA event? There seems to be lots of interest in there. So we will be partnering with her, as well as a group that she will put together in order to pull individuals who can teach and make sure that lots of individuals everyone across the kingdom understands what we're doing. We will open it up further to the known world, so those who wish to attend can be welcome to attend as well. There might be a mixture of virtual classes that happen as live events. There might be some pre-recorded classes as well. It really just depends on the kind of the question or the types of classes that are being offered, and really what people are interested in. So some good thoughts on that.
I was overhearing Her Majesty attend those classes, and there was lots of interest from everyone else in the known world that she was talking to in various kingdoms, saying, we would very much like to attend your TUA classes, please make them available. So it's and there's lots of different ways those can be delivered. I had heard someone talking about a pre-recorded class where they just took questions and addressed questions while the pre-recorded class. They would pause the class and then talk about it. So there's lots of different ways to do this. And if you're interested in presenting a class and you don't know how, you don't know what the technology looks like, again, reach out to the rest of Avacal, reach out to the people who have this kind of know-how and technical expertise, and we can absolutely help you.
As well, remember that our Web Minister Shay is also educated in Teams, and that is again something that we can potentially use as a part of that as well. And there's a handful of people that do have accounts on Zoom that they're able to offer as well. So next question, this one here.
Yep.
From Her Ladyship Li Shi. Can we please have an understanding about what's happening with upcoming and champion changeovers? We would have had 4 new champions between TUA, so Bardic and ANS, and at Coronation, Heavy and Archery. So as we have kind of mentioned that because we are not doing kingdom level events unless everyone can attend, we're kind of in a holding pattern. And one of the things that we would ask is that all champions remain in their office until we can set up a kingdom level event so that we can start doing proper type of championship tournaments so that those individuals who want to participate can. I think, did you want to say anything else to that piece?
It really is a thing where we're going to do the best for the champions coming up that we can. If that happens at Quad War, great. If that happens at Crown, maybe. It's a fluid situation. We know that some championships can happen a little sooner than others. While everyone likes to prepare for a tournament, many of us can fight a tournament at the drop of a hat, whereas an arts and science champion cannot simply just enter. So we are deeply interested in making sure that it's fair for everyone. So when we have a better idea of when we can get together, we will. We can also explore the ideas of online championships and that kind of thing. It's a possibility. It really is something that we sort of thought that we'd be back to normal way back when this first started. We didn't know how long this was going to last. So now that we have a sense that this might take longer than we thought it would, we'll look at every option that's available to us.
There is a question that just came in. What happened about Shire defenders or maybe even Bronial champions? So what we do is we ask that you pose the question to your local leadership. So if it's the Bronial Championship, talk to your Baron Baronesses. If it is your Shire defender, then put a note out to the Seneschal so a conversation can be made. We are aware that there are some groups that are having online meetings with their Kyria group. And so that would be a good question to pose to them and what their thoughts are as to next steps. So. Okay, they're not. Okay.
We've got a few questions that I'm not sure if we answered them with.
So we're just going to go through. Just give us 1 second. We'll throw this to our heirs so that you guys can entertain and talk about your upcoming reign.
Well, I gotta make sure we're off mute. Okay. So we originally, when we were planning for our reign, one of the things that we sort of identified in consultation with their Majesties and in talking with people was we kind of identified a little bit of burnout within the kingdom. And so part of our sort of reign strategy was going to be that we wanted to kind of throttle back a little bit within our kingdom and sort of focus on our Avacal inside, not worry so much about going to Pennsic or Estrella or showcasing our kingdom on the grand stage, which previous kings and queens that have ruled before us have done an excellent job of showcasing our kingdom on that stage. But we thought, okay, we'll withdraw a little bit from that and focus more on attending local events, getting people to volunteer and still have fun while volunteering, to try and kind of deal with some of the burnout we've experienced. And then so that was
this
kind of
happened.
Yeah, and then COVID hit, and now what we have is a kingdom that is almost literally frothing at the mouth to get back into the show. So we've had a lot of people contact us and say, how can we help? What can we do?
Which is great.
Yeah.
We thank you for that, for the interest and for reaching out and offering your services when everything is back. Obviously, we weren't expecting the answer to burnout being COVID, but
so be it.
So what it is.
Yeah, so we're going to change our approach a little bit and try and get as many people involved as we can. Our goal is still the same, to have as much fun as we can and encourage our kingdom to have as much fun as they can, and to try and kind of get back to remembering that the SCA is supposed to be fun. And you can, I don't know how, I mean, my fun in the SCA is to specific things. I like to fight. Aisha likes painting and scribble. But if your fun in the SCA is cooking a feast for 500 people and you're volunteering to do that, then make sure you're having fun and make sure that the other people that are with you and around you are having fun too. I feel sometimes in the SCA we get a little too serious about specific things, and it kind of strips the fun away. I've seen people volunteer, and it is a volunteer organization, and I think it's good that people volunteer. Excuse me. But I've seen people volunteer, and when they get into that volunteer position, they're not having any fun. They're doing it because it was expected of them, or they're doing it because they needed to fill a position because no one else volunteered. So I just wanted to kind of come back in and remind people that your number one goal in this should be to have fun, and then to ensure that other people are having fun. So we'd like to go back to that a little bit and kind of pass that message on too, as much as we can with people. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
You guys ready to go, or do you need
Did
more
we
time?
stall enough, or do you guys still need
That
more?
was good.
That was excellent. Well done.
Legit,
Okay, well,
thank you.
in fact, what's the ladder? Oh, no, no, oh,
Cancel.
I almost ended the event. Oh, I tell you, honest to God.
There we go.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So
Um,
let's move on to some questions.
So
That's good.
All right. If someone asks me the chance of quad actually,
Well, we still do. It'll crop up.
Yeah.
If we
we
don't.
don't.
Underlying.
Yeah.
So,
So we had someone ask if what we think the chances of quad war actually happening are. We don't know. It is our hope. I mean, mundane authorities have talked about how this virus will take a dip and then have a spike in the fall. We don't know what's going to happen. If that happens, maybe we can squeak quad into the dip. We don't know. It's a possibility. Wow, that was loud. It's a possibility. We're hoping for that possibility, and that's the best we can do. What we can say is that this won't be a 0-hour decision. We are not going to cancel quad war the week before. There's going to be a significant amount of time that we are going to wait, that we're going to have between the cancellation and quad war, because we want this to be an excellent event, and we also do not want anyone's efforts to be wasted. So with that, we don't quite know what those dates are. We are expecting sometime in June, we'll have to make the yes or no decision, and that will require a little bit of crystal balling and saying, does it look like we're going to be able to meet, yes or no? And we might make the wrong decision. That is a possibility. So we will see how this goes. We don't know. It's anyone's guess, and we will make our best guess that we can. Okay. We got lots of accolades. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate that. Is a lobster a mermaid for scorpions? We don't know, Baron and Baroness of Borealis. We could throw that to the general populace and maybe have a poll of some kind. We have technology available to us. I know they're tasty with butter. That's really all I know about fishes. All right.
okay.
maybe we should like.
So there was a question regarding the ANS tournaments or COC that came up and asking because they are tracked from May to May. We don't have a formal answer for that right now, but we are going to turn it over the conversation to our Minister of ANS, and we'll have a conversation with her in order to get a proper response that can be sent out and published on the Kingdom of Avacal website in order to answer that question for you.
I'm going to publish Master Allen's question here. So maybe we can have a social distancing war, pole arms and combat archery. It could be called COVID-intentional warfare. I will let that pun go. But what I can say is that a war involving only pole arms and combat archery sounds no fun at all to me. It sounds like a good lot of fun for the archers, and I don't know about that. I get shot enough in wars, thanks very much, Henry.
What is the pants situation?
I'm not telling you what the pants situation is. You guys don't get to know what the pants situation is. I might be wearing pants. I might not be wearing pants. Right now, this is Schrodinger's pants.
I'm wearing slippers, not period sock shoes. Okay, so, okay, there was one other question at the beginning. Did their Majesties address what dates that events are currently canceled until? Right now, we are saying Quad War, Kingdom level. We are hoping for Quad War to take place. If not, then the next would be crown. If not, then it would be coronation, and we're just going to continue on as we can. And again, be as agile as we can with the situation.
And we had mentioned at the start of all this that the authority to cancel or hold events, we are not going to assume that authority. We are going to let that authority lie in the hosting group. So if, again, social distancing restrictions are relaxed and smaller gatherings can happen, that will be up to the individual groups themselves. We would like to know if the individual groups decide they want to have an event. We'd love a heads up just to understand what's happening in our kingdom. And again, we would caution the local leadership of those groups to be very, very cautious on how that proceeds. There's lots at stake, from fines to excluding certain members because we've gone over 50 members, or if we do go over 50 members, now suddenly Avacal and the SCA is in the news. And we would very much like that not to happen.
Yeah. So we don't see any other questions that have come up. So we thank you. We're just going to scan to make sure that there was anything else, but thank you very much for that. So just to kind of close, we again want to thank so many people for their tireless efforts that they have been helping make Avacal and continue to make Avacal strong during this time, during this, again, I think I've said it 20 times, this unprecedented time. Can you put that back?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know where is it? Sorry. Sorry about that. Technology issues. So we wanted to again thank our heirs, their Royal Highnesses, Vic and Aisha. They've been fantastic to work with, and the partnership has been great. It's been fun, and it's been, we've had a lot of good chats and late night talks to try and figure out what we're doing and what next steps will look like. And thank you so much for being such great friends throughout this. Again, we'd also like to thank our temporary Seneschal, Master McLaren, as well as thank Duke Albrecht for willing to be stepping up on May 15th as the Kingdom Seneschal. Thank you so much for that during this difficult time.
We would like to thank the people who have been stepping up and helping out with this new online world that we're all living in. Shay, our web minister, has been nothing short of spectacular. Right from, hey, Shay, looks like the website is down, and I'm messaging him at 11:15 at night, and he's jumping in, to discovering, what our Teams licensing does, to discovering what we can and cannot do. He's really taken a lot upon himself to make sure that Kingdom business can still run, that people can still connect. And I think we all owe a great debt of gratitude to him and so many others that are contributing to the online presence and sort of keeping Avacal, if not top of mind, certainly in our minds and in our hearts. Go ahead.
We'd like to thank Hawk for setting up Discord. I know that is getting a ton of use. I know that Her Royal Highness Aisha just spent some time on there. I have spent some time on there as well. Lots of people who are repeat participants in there. Thank you so much for setting that up. It's meant a lot to a number of groups. And there's also, if you haven't noticed that you're welcome to attend that as well. Maybe we ask that Hawk resend out the information for that so that they are aware, so the populace is aware of that if they haven't seen that. As well, to pay attention that there are other kingdoms that are on there in addition to the SCA as a known world. They have a chat on there as well you can participate in. We also wanted to thank Mistress Arwen for the setting up and her team of individuals for running the heraldry classes. I know that there's a number of people that are involved in that. It's a pretty long list, but thank you so much for doing that. There's been great attendance. I think they're happening regularly, so thank you so much for doing that as well.
And finally, the Barons and Baronesses of our baronies, you guys have been spectacular in reading your people and making sure that SCA still runs in your areas. You are the pillars of Avacal, and we could not do this job without you. So thank you very much, John again, and Borealis, Raul and Roxanne, and Martin Wood, and Mathilda, and Blue, and Montengard. There's a typo.
Oh, sorry, that was my fault.
In my speaking notes. Again, speaking notes. This doesn't happen in live court. So goods and bads, positives and negatives in the whole online world.
And lastly, we just want to thank the Seneschals that are in all of our shires and incipient shires. You guys have been in regular contact with us or with the Seneschal team. And again, just a reminder, everybody, to be continuing to submit their reports that you need to do, because we are still as a kingdom submitting reports. But thank you so much for the Seneschal team for participating and giving of yourself during this tough time. With that, did you have any final words, or we might want to send it to our heirs, and then we can think of our final words.
Oh yeah, there we go. Heirs' final words. Going live. You guys are still muted, so you got to unmute yourself and go. And you are live.
We want to thank everybody in the kingdom. We want to thank you all, guys, everyone in the kingdom, for all the support you've given us and the support you're showing there. Together, and we'll all look forward to having fun with each other when we kind of can. Ethan?
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Agreed. All right.
Sorry, that last one was just to mess with them.
Yeah, that was nice of us at all.
So again, just a final thank you from us. Thank you for attending. We know that this has been likely fairly long, as it being kind of a one-way communication. We do appreciate all the questions that came in, either via the Q&A and the online to our website at crown@avacal.org. Thank you so much for that. Anything else for you?
As a last word, we are going to get through this, Avacal. We are going to get through this. We are going to be stronger on the other side of what happens here. This shows what we are made of as a kingdom, and what we are made of is incredible stuff. So I miss all of you. We miss all of you. We deeply look forward to when we get to see your smiling faces again. And I cannot wait for that first beer with all of you sitting around the fire, talking about the crazy stuff that happened during the virus disruption. We will get through this. We'll see you soon. We love you. Have a great weekend. Ciao.